Parker recently painted this lovely Ysera model for his February classes over on Patreon, and he simply could not resist to paint her dragon form too. So let's look at how Parker finally got the chance to paint this huge dragon. To start, Parker paints in the green base coat using a mix of phthalo green blue and dioxazine violet to darken the green slightly. He applies all over with his new very big size 20 brush. Now when I say huge dragon, I really do mean huge dragon. This model is designed by Luftmensch, and Parker took the 1/6 scale files and really pushed the limits of our printers to scale up to 130%. This makes the dragon a total of 530mm tall, or 21 inches, and 810mm, or 32 inches wide. He applies the mixed colour generously across all the legs and body. You can see Luftmensch sculpted in a lot of lovely detail to work with, so to take advantage of this texture, Parker keeps the paint fairly thin to flow into all of the crevices. Just remember, when your paint is thin, it can increase the chances of air bubbles, so just go slowly as you're applying. Parker then introduces blue violet and quinacridone magenta to the wet palette to get some variation to the scales. Don't worry too much if at this stage you're thinking it looks messy, this is just a base coat. Parker really just enjoys getting some colours down and building off a messy base coat like this. With these scales base coated, Parker moves on to the head crests, and he makes these and the underside of her head and body more of a violet magenta shade. Parker's next tool of choice is the sponge. He adds some permanent green to the wet palette to achieve a lighter shade of green. It can take some practice to get the sponge properly loaded with paint, but once you've got the knack, it's a very useful tool to have. You want the sponge to be well saturated with paint, but not have too much blobbed on the surface of the sponge itself. So he uses a kitchen towel to first dab and get any excess off, along with allowing him to get a bit of a feel for whether it's ready to use. So for those who haven't worked with these before, you will find them by searching for beauty blenders or by searching in your partner's makeup bag. I joke, please leave their beauty blenders alone. All the sculpted texture is absolutely perfect for sponge painting. It's basically going to let Parker paint all the raised texture and leave those recessed areas we talked about earlier with that darker base coat green, leaving some great depth to the finished piece. Parker aims to keep the variation in colour to the dragon, so he uses some of the blue violet and magenta mix for some slightly darker applications, but also introduces permanent yellow for some lighter spots. Another colour he adds to his mix at this point is cobalt blue. When you look closely at depictions of dragon scales, they often have somewhat of a gradient as well as slight variations of colour across the whole dragon. They're never really just one uniform colour. The sponge does a great job at creating these contrasts. Next up are the vines around the dragon's legs. For these, he first paints in mostly using the permanent green. You may notice there's a lot of colour going on that wet palette, and he has a lot of mixes already going. For this coverage, he just uses a brush, but of course soon heads back to the sponge for some highlight colour on these vines. For Ysera's frills, he goes through a similar process using the sponge on the raised textures, this time with quinacridone magenta and light magenta for varying shades, as well as eventually adding dioxazine violet. The way some of the frills are layered create hard to reach spots, so he uses one of his much smaller beauty blenders, gripped with some reverse tweezers so he can reach into hidden areas. The light magenta makes for the perfect colour to sponge on some edge highlights to this underbody section. As Parker moves back to the dragon feet, you'll notice he continued with keeping the feet a more bluey purple shade next to the main green of the scales. He next uses his airbrush to blend out some of the sponged on shadows. This is blue violet Parker is using for his Mobius 0.2 airbrush, looking to hit between the toes and on the underside of her foot. Parker moves on to some details now and chooses to pick out key areas to individually define the scale textures. On the face here, he uses his size 1 Escoda brush to highlight around the eyes with a green and yellow mix from his wet palette. This further helps to break up the large areas of green and make the scales look more individual. This works most effectively in areas you want the eye to be drawn to, such as here on the face. He continues with the same process on the feet, particularly along the toes, as they have some features going on here to draw attention to, such as her bracelets with the green gemstones. Next up, it's time to think about the spine colour. For this, Parker uses a mix of raw umber and a small amount of phthalo green blue. Whenever Parker shifts to a new colour on a model, often having a small amount of the primary colour used across the model in each mix helps to bring some cohesion to the overall colour scheme. Using a fairly large size 10 brush, Parker applies a single consistent coat all down the spines on her back. As you probably expected, we're moving back to the sponge for the top colour. For this, he uses a new mix of brown, which consists of red oxide and permanent green. There are a few ways to mix brown, but he again opts to have some of that green in there for the overall project colour scheme. Just be careful not to go too far down the spines, as you don't want to get the brown sponge on the green scales. For the lightest highlights, he then introduces light orange on the wet palette and applies with a sponge also. He does the same process to the end of the dragon's tail. Parker gets the dragon head back out and he next works on her horns. Again, this is a base coat of raw umber which he applies with a brush, avoiding the vines wrapped around her horns. Parker always points out how important it is to look at real world references, so let's again look at how horns are depicted. And nobody at me about how dragons aren't real. As you can see here, they start to get darker at the base and gradually become lighter at the tips. So to achieve this gradient, Parker introduces Titan Buff to his wet palette, using the brush to apply lighter and lighter mixes as he makes his way to the tip of the horn where it is near to pure Titan Buff. He sets the head aside again to let the horn base coat dry and returns to her feet. These claws were also base coated in raw umber and have now dried, ready to refine some details. We've discussed a couple of good brown mixes and colours to lighten them, so he continues to use these existing shades from his wet palette to begin a top coat, following the sculpted details. This again leaves that darkest base coat in the recessed textures. For these final details, he's not wanting to give too much shine to them, so the highlight isn't moving too bright, just enough variation to give some roughness to the claws. Of course, a round with the sponge also helps to blend all this brush paint together. Whilst we have a leg out, Parker begins work on the cuff around the ankle. He has interpreted this to be a wooden material, so he uses the sponge again to bring the wood texture to life using these brown mixes already made. Next, Parker uses his airbrush glaze recipe with sepia ink from Dalarani. We've chatted about this airbrush glaze a few times now, so I will put the recipe card on screen again, but please do feel welcome to come join us in Discord to discuss more. He uses this glaze to airbrush along the edges where it meets the decorations on the cuff. This gets a bit more definition and shade into the edge. Now Parker can move on to this gem on her ankle cuff. He first wants a nice lime green colour to sketch in the shape, so he uses a mix of cobalt blue and bismuth vanadate yellow. Even if you haven't been here long, you probably already know that Parker has a very matte painting style. His personal choice is to manually paint reflections and highlights and any lighting effects. So whilst it might totally make sense for a lot of people to just use a glossy green paint to paint a gem and then finish it off with a glossy varnish too, it just doesn't really fit with Parker's personal style. So as you watch him place the green colour, you may wonder why so little of it is painted green. So let's look at a real world reference again. You can see how on these gems, much of the area is very dark. Light enters the gem and where it reflects out is where the brightest colour forms. This is why when you have a gem in real life and you move it about, the light entrance and exit begins to shift and gives you that sparkly look. He does this process keeping the paint quite wet, allowing the black top and the green bottom to easily blend together and form a gentle gradient. You could continue blending with a brush here, but as a bit of a shortcut, Parker turns to his airbrush with a green mix adjusted to be very pale with titanium white to gently blend the existing brush painted gradient. He finally uses black through the airbrush for the very top section of the gem. Whilst he hasn't worried about overspray here too much because he's about to paint this outer frame, do feel welcome to mask this area before painting. The outer frame will be getting the NMM treatment, so he just base coats this for now with a brush using Payne's Grey. Parker returns to the head once again to get some details painted in. First, starting with her eyes, for which he looks to achieve a blue, slightly glowy look. This is just a base coat of ultramarine blue that Parker starts with. The next face details are the dragon teeth, and for this he just uses Titan Buff from his wet palette to carefully paint in. An off-white light Titan Buff is a perfect choice for some monster teeth like this. The next feature on this head are the vines wrapped around her horns. For this he starts with a deep green, choosing phthalo green blue with a small addition of Dioxazine Violet. He uses a size 2 brush to paint the vines, just keep a nice point, go slow and steady and follow the raised areas. For the upper highlight he incorporates more of the permanent green into the mix on his wet palette. He's using the same brush, just focusing on the top area instead this time. Along with these vines, she also has flowers on her horns, so Parker chooses a pinky purple colour to complement her underbody scales. These flowers use a mix of quinacridone magenta and dioxazine violet. This is just a base coat for now because he again uses his sponge for that top colour. He uses a small one this time, and the very pointy end of the Beauty Blender does a great job on the small flowers. For some of the various metal parts like here around her horns, Parker switches between brush and sponge to create a metallic look. I'm not going to really dive into this too deep because our last painting video had a very heavy focus on non-metallic metal, so I do encourage you to go watch that Sylvanas video after this one if you want to learn a bit more. To finish off the eyes, Parker adds titanium white and light phthalo blue to his palette. A whiter central area adds to the look of the blue glow from around the edges. Bit different to his usual eye painting this time. No makeup needed, no iris, no pupil, so that's the eye done. Now he moves on to the wings, and boy are these things big. As you can see, they were printed split, so required some work to assemble. One seam filled quite nicely, the other unfortunately was a bit of a thicker gap, but it all looks good in the finished model. Thankfully we can just about fit most of the wing in frames so that we can talk about it. The process is similar to the body scales, as the wings were also heavily textured with sculpted detail. He grabs his very big size 20 brush again for this job and applies varying shades of phthalo blue green and blue violet. Light phthalo blue helps to get this pale colour towards the very bottom. With the base coat applied, he now uses the variety of greens, yellows and purples on his wet palette to sponge in the top coat. You can see what a variety of complementary shades have been achieved with this method. Finally, he turns to his airbrush to blend out some of the application and particularly focuses along those edges. The airbrush application here is mostly using Dioxazine Violet. Parker moves to the final part of this model, the base. We have a few things going on here, some green moss, some stone areas, flowers and even some tree roots. He first uses a dark green wash which is a mix of phthalo green and burnt sienna and applies to mossy areas. He uses the same mix but slightly adjusted with more of the burnt sienna to base coat the stones. He's looking for a really earthy, desaturated type colours for both the stone and moss to complement each other. To vary up the stone a bit, he adds Mars yellow and black to sponge on in some areas. However, for the green moss, he opts for a brighter green top coat using permanent green. Finally, for the roots, Parker uses a mix of burnt sienna with some black to create a warm dark brown colour. To differentiate from the browns on the dragon, he looks to push the roots more to an orangey tone, so he adds cadmium orange to the palette to mix and apply a top coat with a sponge. Parker's wanted to paint a huge dragon like this for so long, so I know he's pleased to have finally done so. If you want to see even more painting of this Ysera dragon, he did actually film a full 4-hour painting course, which is available over on our Patreon. In fact, the first 3 people to grab it will also get a special discount. We do have another World of Warcraft dragon coming up soon, so be sure to join us on Discord and Twitch to come see more dragon painting. As always, if you do have any questions, please comment down below. Thank you all for watching, and a special thank you to all of our patrons on screen. We are so grateful for your continued support. We will catch you all in the next one.